And welcome back to the Friday edition of The Source. I'm Tiffany Bacon. This is my favorite time on a Friday. It is time for Stage Door. And I have to welcome my very special co-host, my dear friend, Mr. Jeffery Paige. Hey, Jeffery.
Oh, hello, Tiffany. What's going on this Friday?
I mean, I'm breathing on schedule. I don't know about you, but I'm all right.
All right. I heard that.
Yes.
What's new with you up? What's new with you up in Philly?
Oh, nothing much. We just living our life like it's golden. Trying to anyway.
Living our life.
Yes. Big shout out to Illy Jilly from Philly, because that's what we like. We know you're still over there in Japan. So how is life in the world that you are living in right now?
I wish I had a whole lot of really amazing stories of my tourism and my travels, but all I got is stories of rehearsal and rehearsal. That's all I got for you. There is a huge uptick in the coronavirus. Like everyone was really stressed out in rehearsal yesterday, because I think with the Olympics, I think they're bringing new and bigger numbers of the coronavirus over here. So I think people are a little stressed about that. But other than that, things are going well. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, there's more to be excited about because we have two awesome guests who are joining us on the show today. The first is the program manager for the Doc Society. Her name is Shannon Thomas. And we have Gretjen Clausing, who is the executive director of Philly Cam. And I welcome you both to the show. Hello.
Hello, Tiffany. Hello, Jeffery.
Hello.
Hi, Tiffany and Jeffery.
Awesome. Nice to see you all. Nice to meet you, Shannon. Nice to see you again, Gretjen. I don't know how many of our listeners are familiar with Philly Cam, but it is a hidden gem, and it shouldn't be that hidden, to be honest. It's been around for a minute. It should not be hidden at all, but it is quite a gem in Philadelphia. So can you please, Gretjen, tell us, what is Philly Cam?
Well, Philly Cam is a community media center, and we are located a stone's throw from the Liberty Bell. Tiffany knows it well, has been there many times, and we are the nonprofit that is designated by the city of Philadelphia to operate the public access television channel. A primary part of our work is teaching people how to make media. I mean, we are really committed to the making space for folks who don't see themselves represented in mainstream media to have the opportunity to make and share their own non-commercial media on cable television. And then a few years ago, Tiffany, as you know, we started a radio station as well, WPPM 106.5 FM, which is a kind of like a hyper local FM station in Philadelphia. And the same holds there. We give people the opportunity to come learn how to be radio programmers and operate the boards and curate their own shows. And you know, we really are a creative community of folks that see the power of media, and I just think it's something that either if you have always had the desire to learn how to use any of this technology, you can come and join and become a member, or you can just enjoy the programming and the incredible programming that is on our cable or radio station, both through the more traditional medias of cable TV and broadcast radio, or you can stream both our cable channel and our radio station. And it really is TV and radio that looks and sounds like Philadelphia.
That is so awesome. So awesome. I know Jeffrey's going to have some questions, but I want to make sure Shannon gets into the conversation because there's something that you guys are doing together called Good Pitch Local. It's where filmmakers have an opportunity to pitch their social justice oriented documentaries to funders. So Shannon, can you please tell us about the Doc Society and how you all teamed up with PhillyCam?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the program manager for Doc Society based out of our Brooklyn office. But I'm soon moving to Philadelphia, and I'm very excited about that. And we are one of 4 offices around the world that is dedicated to supporting nonfiction media makers, primarily in film, who are working on social justice and human rights causes around the world. And one of our programs is Good Pitch Local, where we center our resources in partnership with local media arts organizations to identify the people really doing the work, both through art and also community organizing. Mm-hmm. And we provide them with professional development training and a platform to share their projects with funders, yes, but also other organizations, the media, and other artists who might be able to collaborate and leverage their expertise and passion for social justice causes to further the work. That's what we do.
That's awesome. Awesome. Jeffrey.
How is this changing how is the current scope right now changing your work, like with respect to coronavirus and the politics and whatnot? I'm super curious. I would imagine that you guys are either in triage or are in a really exciting time of like, oh my God, this is like totally making new opportunities for media. So I'm really curious to understand how you guys are using this time and shifting in one way or another.
Absolutely. Well, Shannon, I'll start
and
talk a little bit about what, how PhillyCam has navigated this past year and a half. And then we can talk a little bit about how we actually had to completely change our plans for Good Pitch, both in 2020 and in 2021. But yes, Jeffrey, absolutely. This has been kind of an amazing moment, actually, as challenging and hard as it has been. The very talented and inventive people that I work with at PhillyCam immediately tried to figure out how they could support our many members to continue to create their TV and radio shows from home. And we looked at all different kinds of tools, like the tool that we are using right now to be with you and Tiffany, which is StreamYard, and how to teach them how to use this technology to be able to do their TV and radio shows. And we found that people just got so excited and felt the need as we were going, with everything that we were going through the past year and a half, that sharing our stories was even more vital and could even be life-saving. So we have experienced a flood of content, really, and I think what was most interesting in the first several months of the pandemic was that the PhillyCam producers, both on radio and television, felt very, they felt very motivated because they saw that mainstream media, news and the late night programs and the talk shows, everybody was reduced to using the same technology. So it was kind of like a leveling of the field, really. And it came down to not necessarily the access to the production values and the tools that you had, but the importance and the quality of the storytelling that you were doing. So it's been really amazing. And I think now PhillyCam has been open since the early part. We've gone back and forth. So last July 2020, we were open for our members, and then we kind of had to close when things surged in over the holidays, and then we've kind of opened back up since February. We recently are now open 3 days a week, so members can come and use our facilities. We've increased our capacity in our TV studio and our trainings. And just tonight when I left the building, there was an in-person Adobe Premiere video editing class. We're starting a collaborative filmmaking class this week. So small in-person workshops are back. We do online workshops. Our youth media program will begin recruiting again. So we are cautiously returning to some of our normal operations, but I think that the remote production will be here forever. And I think there's things that are really exciting about it, in the way that we could bring guests in from like you, like from Japan, and have a conversation here in Philly.
Interesting. Shannon, did you want to jump in?
Well, I think maybe, Gretjen, we should talk a little bit about what happened to us back in 2020 when everything happened with Ms. Coronavirus coming through.
Yes.
So, Jeffrey.
Well, why don't you first? Yeah. Why don't you first? So basically, and I'll let Shannon describe it. But Good Pitch came to Philadelphia for the first time in December of 2018. So Shannon, why don't you can sort of set the stage and describe what that event was.
Yeah, absolutely. So Doc Society has been piloting Good Pitch Local for about 5 years now. And originally it was an internal staff of folks being advised by local media artists on the ground as to where to go and who to reach out to and who to invite. And in 2018, it was really a small team at Doc Society coming from New York, leading the charge in Philadelphia and some other cities across the country. And we quickly realized that didn't feel quite right. And so in working with a lot of people around the country, around the world, really, we decided that it was high time to hand over the reins to local people to do local work. And so we approached Philly Cam about kind of centering Good Pitch Local in Philadelphia, housed under the Philly Cam roof, so to speak. And we kind of pivoted. So we were all ready to go to do an in-person event. And then March 2020 came around.
Yeah. And so basically the in-person event would basically normally bring together about 150 to 180 people in the same space. They're kind of supporting the filmmakers and the community organizers who are kind of pitching their projects, and people would like shout out and, give them, love for their projects, or offer, ways that they could support. So it's a very kind of high touch environment, and so it was really kind of gutting to find out that we were going to have to figure out a way to translate that to a virtual environment. Like, how do you recreate that kind of feeling that you have of people in a room that are kind of watching something, and that energy? And I mean, Jeffrey, you as a performer, I'm sure you can identify with that. So it was really hard, but we have, came up with a way to, make as engaging a presentation as we could, using the amazing, Zoom technology, and also capitalizing on the fact that Philly Cam is a TV station, and we have the ability to have, good, really excellent production values, and give the filmmakers who were pitching, they weren't just sitting in their living room, like they were actually standing in a studio and really being able to show their project in the best light possible, and then getting lots of love virtually from people in the chat and people responding directly to their projects.
So just to add on to Jeffrey's question, how did the events, like all of the events of 2020, not just the coronavirus, but also the election, the uprising, how did that affect you personally? And did it change how you view the work you do?
Well, I don't see how it couldn't have affected me. I think it was a year that, I think being the executive director of a nonprofit, you kind of never expect to be, dealing with the kinds of things that were happening and how things were changing literally week to week, and wanting to be there to support the staff and the members, the majority whom are, people of color here in the city of Philadelphia. And that it was, really seeing this as like our responsibility to kind of be there as documenters and as creating a space to share information that we didn't really feel was being represented on kind of mainstream media, and kind of, giving life-saving information, and also not sensationalizing, the uprisings, and really kind of looking, trying to look a bit deeper, or from the perspectives of our members as to how they were experiencing it. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely, had to kind of call into question, how I am in my day-to-day, in my work role as the director, but also just how I am as a resident and a person living in Philadelphia. I don't think you could have gone through this year and not come out of it the other side unchanged.
It's interesting because as I'm listening to you speak, I can't help but to think about the history of media, and how media works in society, what media does for and to society, thinking about going way back to the remnants of ancient Greek society and ancient Egyptian society with theater and so on and so forth, and thinking about radio and thinking about television and so on and so forth. And now we're in this place where there's this forced maneuvering that has to take place. I know it's happening in theater. For me, for instance, March of what 2019, I can't even remember what year it was, y'all. But March of 2019, I just opened a show at National Black Theater in Harlem, and then I was in workshop for a Broadway show downtown, and we totally had to kind of rethink and re-up and all of that stuff. And then we went into this whole thing of what does theater mean? What is media? What is it supposed to do? And how can we still do the work that we were called to do? And so listening to you, I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So now we're in this, again, a forced maneuvering of how do we rethink how do we rethink our ways of making media and whatnot? So it's just interesting to listen to you speak. I don't know if I really have a question so much than just like, it must have been super scary, super exciting, super hard for you to figure out what does all of this mean with respect to what kind of seems like the apocalypse, like it
Right.
are we gonna have a new world, when we come out of the other end of this? How were you guys taking that?
Yeah. I'll keep going, Shannon, and then if you want to
go for it. No.
I mean, and I think, we are a community media center. The majority of the work that is created is by volunteers. And I think we had to be understanding that, some people wanted to be there on the front lines at the protests, and other people were, you know, maybe not feeling comfortable to do that. So, you know, everything sort of just evolved as it did. But I do think that what I found to be in, you know, what keeps me kind of going is, again, folks feeling that their point of view maybe wasn't necessarily being heard. You know, we could see how on our radio station, for example, there are a number of programs where they're community affairs programs that are hosted by folks from the Philly Latinx community, and are sharing information about the virus, about vaccinations, and doing that in Spanish, because at that moment there wasn't necessarily a lot of really good, you know, information that was getting out about that. And, you know, and admittedly, you know, so I felt like that kind of work is incredibly important. And then the one thing I think that PhillyCam is able to do, and is that, you know, we are reaching populations that aren't necessarily connected to the internet through our cable channel. I think there's sometimes this assumption that, oh, well, everyone has the internet, so if we put stuff up on social media or if we do these things here, people are going to get that information. But I think you all know, at Word being an FM radio station, that these kind of legacy media are important for, you know, communities that are often kind of left out, you know, communities that are experiencing poverty, that don't have access to high-speed broadband. So I think through our cable channel and our radio station, we were able to bring this kind of information being told by, you know, folks that look like their neighbors. And so providing that relationship and trust. I see you making faces, Tiffany.
No,
like, yes.
I'm talking and I'm muted, and I got to get used to that in the new millennium. Sorry, I have to cut you there just because we have to go to break. But when we come back, we're going to hear more from Gretjen, from Shannon, and of course, my co-host, Jeffery, Paige. We're going to find out more about Good Pitch Local right after this. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's the Friday edition of The Source here on WURD 96.1 FM and 900 AM. We call this segment Stage Door. My co-host is Mr. Jeffery Paige. Joining us are Gretjen Clausing. I say your name wrong. Oh my goodness. Clausing and Shannon Thomas are joining us this afternoon. Thank you both again for being here. Before we get too deep into another topic, please give us the lay of the land about Good Pitch Local. What happened? Because I know some things happened. What happened? Who was there? And when can we see something?
Yeah, I can dive in there. Oh, Gretjen, you're on mute. I'll let Gretjen answer the question, when can we see something? Because I have the same question for Gretjen. Her fabulous staff, I'm sure, is hard at work making something beautiful for us all to watch soon. But Tuesday was really amazing. It was the first Good Pitch event that happened in any capacity in person in over 2 years anywhere in the world, which was a huge celebration, I think, not only for me and my colleagues, but for everybody who was there. And I think it was one of the better attended Good Pitch Locals, which I guess is one advantage of doing it virtually. We had over 190 eyes on the 10 projects that presented via the Zoom event, and also the limited audience we were allowed to welcome into Philly Cam itself. So, yeah, Gretjen, how are you feeling about it 48 hours later?
Oh, I feel great. It was, so basically I was so thrilled because we were able to have the filmmakers and the community organizers in our television studio in Old City, and they were able to be there together to support one another. So to hear applause and cheers and just feel that kind of those vibrations was amazing. And the projects that were pitched, I thought, were very reflective of, just kind of, even though, again, and I think the one thing I need to sort of say here is that, filmmaking takes a long time. Documentary films can take years to make. And they're also something that is like really something that you need to do with other people. It's really hard to do it in isolation. But, maybe Shannon, if you want to talk like some of the projects I feel like really resonate with what we've gone through over the past year, and the project that sort of kicked off the event was one that was called Testimony, the Invisible Violence of UPenn. And that's by Amelia Carter. And so she's in the process of developing this short documentary. Shannon, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, Amelia's work is super powerful, and I think only befitting to kick off a day of which we had a lot of projects reflecting back on the year we just had. Tiffany and Jeffery, you asked earlier how we were all dealing with not just coronavirus, but also all the other events and the election and the Black Lives Matter movement that was reinvigorated last summer. And this piece is a personal testimony that is animation of the events of one of the protests where UPenn campus police actually assaulted community members in West Philadelphia. And I think it's a great Good Pitch Local project because it's obviously hyper local, a relevant day and news item, and also movement, but it's also got national feelers that are going out into the world. And so I think what's great about Good Pitch Local is it's about amplifying the work locally, but also connecting filmmakers like Amelia to more national movements. And so we were able to have people in the room who could, connect her to other artists and also organizers who are looking to further the work of getting campuses de-policed. There's a whole Cops Off Campus movement that we tapped into that I didn't know anything about. So it revealed a whole new kind of social justice movement that was fueled by recent political and social events. And it's a super Philadelphia, super personal story that I think is going to have really long legs and a huge impact across the country, really. And that was just the first project of 10 of the day.
Wow. I'm listening. I'm sitting here listening to the both of you, and I can't help but to think about the new world that we're inside of, and the new stories that you are encountering. What are some other stories with respect to that? And when I say that, I never thought that I would hear anything about UPenn and security and whatnot. What are some other stories, and how are these other stories taking shape?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the world of 2021 that we're living in now, I'll admit that A Good Pitch Local attracts some more progressive films and projects and audience. But that was Amelia Carter's film was just one of the police abolition projects we had on the bill that day. And we had Amistad Law Project, which is a local group of lawyers in Philadelphia that's working on lots of different causes, primarily abolishing death by incarceration and life sentencing requirements, and are also working on a series of short animated videos about alternatives to policing that are animated, that are meant to be shared on social media, and how to get those out into the world. And so those are, again, could be a national resource for people doing that abolition work. And so hyper local, but huge resonance outside, the region too. So Gretjen, do you have a favorite from Tuesday that you want to mention?
Well, I think that one, another project that I feel like definitely kind of came out of, the past year was a project being proposed by I'm just trying to pull it up here in front of me. The Philadelphia Chinatown Development Corporation, a young woman who is doing work with them, Esther Castillo, spoke about this project called the Chinese Immigrant Families Wellness Initiative. And I think it was, they have been, in the Asian American or community have been gathering to really, talk about, in light of the kind of racial attacks on the Asian American Pacific Islander community due to the coronavirus. They had been getting together to talk about, how these experiences of this kind of racial trauma has been affecting the mental health of their family, friends, and how they can begin to, I think that's not something that they talk about in openly in the AAPI community, and that oftentimes this racial trauma isn't addressed and it's kind of passed on to future generations. And so they don't have a media project. They have been gathering in a small group of millennials to kind of create a safe space to be able to talk about what they've been experiencing over the past year and a half. But they, feel that documenting these stories are really important. And by doing that and using either, a podcast or a video is then their way of being able to share it with other people so that it's not so stigmatized and so that people are more open about it. And then they can begin this kind of process of like healing together. So, to me, that was maybe a project that didn't have like a great, trailer to show, but I feel like it was one that, in terms of the impact it can have on the community most directly affected is huge, and so that was a project that I was really excited about.
I speak a lot about what what our work is supposed to do. And I speak about this idea of it jumping inside of the human psyche and shifting internal furniture. And in a world that we've become so politicized, in a world where something like vaccinations and whatnot have become so politicized, it seems like we really need this kind of work so that we start to understand, number one, something deeper, and internal furniture needs to be shifted. Stories need to be told so that we can start to hear the deeper implications, so that we can start to understand new and more important and provocative stories, so that we can understand how we need to shift. I say all of that to say, how is your work helping with respect to us entering into new territory and into new spaces with respect to vaccination rates and whatnot?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll probably throw it over to Shannon in a second, but I mean, I think that, media in all its various forms is just a tool, right? It's something that we can use to kind of help various campaigns. I think often, and sometimes it's really hard to quantify like the impact that something has. But I think earlier, Jeffery, you were mentioning like, well, what is kind of like the future or whatever. I think what is really important about, the stories that were being pitched at Good Pitch, and just kind of the role of the filmmaker and the artist in general, is that it's like helping us envision the future that we want, right? It's like putting words to it, putting images to it, and it's like through that powerful that kind of visioning that helps us all see where we want to go, right? And not kind of waiting for somebody to give you the permission to do it, but to actually kind of visualize the future that we want. And I think at its core, that's kind of like this kind of idea about this kind of why we come together at Good Pitch is to kind of have this moment to kind of visualize this future that we want to see together. And I was going somewhere, Shannon, so maybe you can pick up on it from there. But
totally, I think Doc Society's mission statement, at the risk of sounding corny, is the art of impact and the impact of art. And I think one of the things we do with all the films that pitch at Good Pitch is to go through a really extensive workshopping process. We have this resource online, and I'm going to be a good employee here and plug it, called the Impact Field Guide, which is literally chapters upon chapters of theory of how to reach different audiences and strategies on how to do that, no matter what your story. And I think one of the things we know about changing people's minds is through personal anecdote and story. So I think we didn't have any projects that pitched, pertaining actually to vaccination rates, but we know through other evidence and things like that, one of the things that is most convincing is hearing it from a story from someone you trust. And so for us, that work plays out in empowering people to share little known stories and giving them the tools to amplify their work and connect with other organizations who can help them do that as well, and who might want to use their story to further their own social justice work in their communities. And so we do this work around the world. And so right now I can think of projects that are helping LGBTQ causes in Kenya and Indigenous rights in Australia and, gentrification and trash collection in Philadelphia. So every location has its own stories going on that are going to change and benefit the communities that these artists are working in. And for my money, empowering artists and giving them the tools and the platform to do that at places like PhillyCam and Zoom and wherever you can is what we should all be doing and supporting. So in terms of the work that I do and that Gretjen has helped support Doc Society do locally in Philadelphia, it's all about tapping into the folks that have something really urgent going on and how we help them craft that message to make sure that it's still, personal to them, but also can go out into the world and do some good.
How many filmmakers are you working with at the moment?
I'm sorry, before you asked that question, I was talking and could nobody hear me because I am still in the mute zone. But I have to go to break. So, Jeffrey, hold on to that question. We are going to find out the answer to that question. Plus, if you are interested in getting involved with Good Pitch, with the Doc Society, or with PhillyCam, hopefully we'll have the answers to those questions and more when we come back after this. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're in the final segment of today's edition of Stage Door here on WURD. Stage Door sits inside the source on Friday. I'm Tiffany Bacon. Thank you so much for joining me. My very special co-host, Mr. Jeffery, Paige, and our special guests today, Gretjen Clausing and Shannon Thomas. Jeffrey, you were just about to ask a question right before the break, so I'm going to give you that space to do that.
Yeah, I was asking how many filmmakers are you working with? It sounds like a lot is going on with your organizations over there. How many filmmakers are you working with?
Yeah, at Doc Society, we're working with hundreds of filmmakers at any given time. So our Brooklyn office is one of 4 outposts that we have around the world through both the Good Pitch local program and a Good Pitch global program. These kind of pitching forums that we had in Philadelphia on Tuesday happen all over the world, from Brazil to Kenya to New Zealand. And the other work we do is through granting documentary filmmakers, doing work again globally, and then our Climate Story Lab and Climate Unit, which is about creating media and messaging to move the needle on climate change and climate justice around the world. So personally, I'm working with about 50 filmmakers in Philadelphia, Detroit, and eventually Puerto Rico later this year. Shout out to the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, who invited us in partnership to bring Good Pitch Local to San Juan in December. Yeah, we are all over mobilizing storytellers where they have stories, really. And so it's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to do this work with almost 70 Philadelphians who have been through the Good Pitch program thus far. We keep in touch with all of them, and I hope to come back and work with even more.
Wow. You said hundreds. How do you manage that?
Oh, we've got a team. It's not just me. I'm one of many. Yeah, I mostly oversee the Good Pitch local program in the United States, while I have colleagues who are working on grant making and artist support elsewhere in the world. But yeah, it's a really it's a big network, and I think the benefit of that is when we do come to local places like Philadelphia, we can bring our friends from India and from the UK and from Brazil to the room and find some synergy in local stories around, breaking, national boundaries. So there's always some kind of common thread that can be related back. So I think on Tuesday we had about 6 different countries in the Good Pitch local Zoom room. So yeah, that's kind of the beauty of that.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, Tiffany.
No, I was going to say, how does someone who is listening to the show today actually get involved with both of your organizations as a storyteller or as an employee? And I'll start with you, Shannon.
Yeah, I can be quick. So the Good Pitch local program is operating the rest of this year in Detroit and in Puerto Rico. So people can go to our website, goodpitch.org, and request invitations to view any one of those programs if they're interested. And then over at docsociety.org, we've got information on all of the film funds and eligibility requirements if you're working on something, as well as the new Climate Story Unit, where if you are working in climate justice organizing or storytelling, we might be able to support some of your work. So yeah, you can always get in touch with me as well. Happy to support local media makers as a soon-to-be Philadelphian.
I know that's right. And how about you, Gretjen, for the folks who may be interested in PhillyCam?
Absolutely. Well, of course, I would encourage folks to go to our website, phillycam.org, phillycam.org. And there you can find out information about how to watch and listen to our cable channel and radio station, but also you can find out about how to become a member. PhillyCam is a membership organization. Our membership is very affordable. You can become a member and then attend one of our virtual intro to community media workshops, either for TV, radio, and then your creation journey can begin, and you can start finding out how to access our television studios and our computer lab, and by taking some of our training workshops, and also just attending a lot of our free mixers and we've added a lot of like online kind of networking opportunities for people. So basically how to begin to kind of enter into our community of makers. So yeah, so again, that is phillycam.org. We have an intro to community media workshop on Tuesday the 10th of August. And then there's one for radio on Thursday, August 12th. So those are things that you can attend and get started on your own journey. And I think that's the thing I really want to emphasize is that, and I said this already, I mean, this is all a process, and particularly, any, documentary filmmaking, is something that, your storytelling develops over time, and you will need, kind of a crew of people to be able to support you. And whether that's folks that are going to help you film or edit or animate or just help you research and find locations and all these things. So I think the thing about PhillyCam that's great is it helps you find that that creative community. I was so excited that when we did Good Pitch local Philadelphia last year in September of 2020, that a PhillyCam member who had been a longtime member of ours, his name is Jeffery Edmonds. He is, I think, someone who people may know in many different capacities in Philadelphia as being somebody who is part of our kind of, the fabric of our city. But he has been, working to document the histories of African American visual artists in Philadelphia, and he was selected to be part of Good Pitch, and he was just thrilled and terrified at the same time. And he did a really fantastic job, and talking about his projects to document the work of like Leroy Johnson and the incredible fabric artist, textile shape shifter Betty Lee Craft. And he, as a result of being part of Good Pitch, got, additional support. And I just saw that on Thursday, August 12th, he's going to be screening his short film about Betty Lee Craft in a program at Scribe Video Center. So again, that's how you see how Good Pitch works. Like he was talking about and showing a work in progress, back in September. And now he, has been able to get some funds, work with an editor. And now it's going to be, having kind of a local preview at Scribe on August 12th.
That is awesome. That is truly awesome. We only have 3 minutes left in the show. Jeffrey, do you have one final question for our guests?
I have tons of questions.
You can only get one. Sorry.
I know I have tons though, but I would say the more pressing question would be how do I watch these documentaries? Do I need to join? Is that how it's works? Do I need to join a PhillyCam or I'm just so interested in watching the documentaries?
Well, some of them are still in process, but you can, and you don't need to be a member to watch PhillyCam. So you can always just tune in to PhillyCam. We will be releasing kind of like a highlight reel of the pitches in a couple weeks time. But folks can, also go to, there are no clips, right, Shannon? We don't have any clips on the Good Pitch site at this point.
Not yet, but some of the films over the last from 2018, 2020 are finished, and you can find information about those and where to watch them on the Good Pitch website. And we expect that, projects that have gone through the program the past year and this year will be finished soon. So we'll be sure to share updates as they arise. And also, I'm sure PhillyCam and Gretjen will have all the latest and greatest news from all of the projects that participated.
And I'll just say, if folks are interested in independent documentary work, check out Scribe Video Center, watch PhillyCam, go to Black Star Film Festival, check out the Philadelphia Latino Film Festival, the Philadelphia Asian American Film Festival. That'll be in November. So we have a lot of really incredible organizations that are lifting up this work that is either being made locally or and is kind of showing different perspectives on current issues.
And with that, we have to say goodbye. Thank you all so much. We are out of time. Much love again to you, Gretjen, to Shannon, also to Jeffery. Thank you all so very much. In 10 seconds, give us the website for PhillyCam and for Doc Society.
All right, PhillyCam is phillycam.org.
And Doc Society is docsociety.org.
All right. Thank you so much for all that you do. I appreciate you both. Jeffrey, as always, love you much. Be safe in Japan. And listen, much love going out to my super producer, Miss Kayla J. Thank you for all that you do. Have a peaceful, positive, and productive weekend. Please stand by for Brother Shamari Show. He's next. Bye-bye.